is Marty Melrose, and I have a good friend of mine, Catheryne Nicholson of BlockCypher, with me today. We met at the Texas Bitcoin Conference and became fast friends, and I wanted to share her with you today and all of the great things that they have going on. So first of all, what I like to do, Catheryne, is I always start off with how did you get involved with Bitcoin and what was it that excited you about Bitcoin?
Sure. Hi, Marnie. It's great to see you again. So there are multiple ways that I started to get exposed to digital currencies. My co-founder, we were building a HTML5 mobile web application for education. He actually mined a Bitcoin, so he told me about it back in 2011, I think, the end of 2011. I was given some Bitcoin, which I promptly lost. And we also found out as we were trying to transact money at schools and the educational system that it's almost impossible to basically teleport cash. There's no elegant online way to transact money in a school system. And as you know, in every district, there's millions of dollars that happen in cash and check. And in this day and age, we just found it so clunky and so archaic. And I have to say that when we were building the mobile web app, part of the reason we did it as a mobile web application is because I didn't like the extortion that Apple was levying on iOS apps. And so we jumped out of that pot into the credit card pot. And so it didn't matter where we were. Basically, we were going to get charged a large number of transaction fees. And in education, that's why cash and checks still reign supreme. And so it was multiple ways that I started getting exposed to digital currencies.
That's great. That's great. And so what kind of engages you? Tell us the story or the vision that you have for Bitcoin. And then after that, tell us a little bit about what you're doing specifically, because I know you guys got some exciting things going on.
Yeah, absolutely. So the thing that really excites me personally about Bitcoin and digital assets, digital currencies, is the capability to transact anywhere in the world with high fluidity and very low transaction fees. And when I look at it from, I'm the mother of two young kids, when I look at it from that lens and I think, wow, we can solve world poverty. We can affect change throughout the entire world through a digital currency like Bitcoin. And that's the potential that it's really got me going. However, okay, let's hold the horses right now. So what I alluded to when somebody gave me Bitcoin and I lost it, that was kind of the impetus behind, oh my gosh, all the applications for Bitcoin right now are terrible. The UI is terrible, the user experience is terrible, and so as I started digging into more, it's like no wonder they're terrible because there's no designer that can really take a good look and a good apply their trade to it because there's all these things they have to worry about from an infrastructure standpoint. And so my co-founder and I, we have been in the enterprise software business for, gosh, about 15 years. And so when we looked at all the enabling technology that has to happen in order for Bitcoin to go mainstream, that's the thing that we are addressing with BlockCypher, because we believe that a UX designer cannot do anything right now with Bitcoin until someone like us, like our company, takes care of all the infrastructure concerns so they don't have to worry about how to enable multi-signatures, how to create a transaction, how to check address balances. All those things, no one should have to worry about it, right? They should just be able to create an application right on top of it, and a beautiful application, an easy-to-use application that you can't just fumble around with and then accidentally lose because you didn't have the right security measures in place.
That's great. That's great. So tell me when you started working on your project and kind of how it's evolved over time.
Yeah, so we started working on it in January. We started prototyping. We started looking at all the various architectures for the various players out there. We started to look at all the problems also that the Bitcoin ecosystem was encountering. And we really started coding at the end of January, beginning of February, and it's kind of gone gangbusters since.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And so where are you right now? What has just transpired?
What has just transpired? Well, we just released this incredibly powerful API, and it's called multi-sig, which stands for multiple signatures. And you had interviewed Pamela at your one of the previous sessions, and that's exactly what we're trying to enable. It's you have the whole spectrum of people that are in Bitcoin. You have the folks that they essentially want to bury their Bitcoin in the middle of a backyard and manage all the private keys themselves and keep everything in cold storage. But in mainstream, there are those people, but there's the entire spectrum, and a lot of us don't trust ourselves to be able to maintain all that security ourselves. And for very large asset transactions, such as property, like the Yukon mine that's selling for $2 million in Bitcoin, you're not just going to transmit that $2 million of Bitcoin without a number of arbiters and a number of third parties that are verifying the veracity on both ends, both the recipient and the receiver. And so what we have done for the multi-sig API is basically abstracted all the complexity to manage multiple signatures so that Bitcoin can enable that in every single application. And not only for Bitcoin, because we support multiple coins on our infrastructures. Any coin that's hosted on our infrastructure also has that same benefit of being able to leverage the APIs, including multi-sig, that we build out.
That's great. That's great. So who exactly is your customer? Who should come to you and say, "Hey, BlockCypher, I need your help"? Who
Yeah.
who does that look like in the world?
Great question. So any developer that's building a Bitcoin or digital coin application needs to come see us. If you
Okay.
want to enable a higher level of security and build that into your application, then you need to check us out. They're free APIs. They're very simple web APIs. We have all sorts of callbacks to notify you of different events that happen. So any developer right now, those are our early adopters, needs to come check us out.
Awesome, awesome. And can you tell me, like, do you have any clients right now that are working with you?
Yeah. So Purse.io is working with us. They are, you can buy Bitcoin and buy things on Amazon using them. Fiva Wallet is using us. They were the first iOS app, so they got around that big ban by getting an enterprise license, which I think is great. It's absolutely great. We have a Bitcasso, which is a payment processing, a merchant processing service in the Dutch city of Arnhem, which is using us. And there's a number of them, Coinalytics. There's a lot of folks out there that we see webhooks that they're utilizing on the back end. And so we're getting a lot of traction there, which is great.
That's wonderful. And so tell me, what do you see like for the future? What do you guys, or things that you can tell me that you're working on? Obviously, there's some stuff that might not be, you know, we don't want publicly exposed yet, but where are you headed?
So where we're heading with this is our focus, our goal is to make everything easy for developers. We know in the short term we need to put a lot more examples out. We also need to address, because security is a huge issue in Bitcoin. So there's a number of things that we're going to put in place to ensure that, because right now we don't hold any private keys. We ask either the user or the Bitcoin application to do that signature. We know we can't avoid that forever, right? So we have to look at all the measures in order to be able to do that in a very secure manner. So usability, and again, performance and reliability those are our focus. It's our core competency and it's our focus.
That's awesome. So let's, speaking about competency, so I know your background a little bit, right? But
Yes.
maybe the people on my show don't know your
Uh-huh.
background. So why don't you share a little bit and the background of your partner as well?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm a former naval officer. I'm also the mother of two kids, as you know, Marnie. I have built very large-scale enterprise software systems in defense for tactical air mission planning systems, for energy management, for education, and now digital currencies. My co-founder and I, Mathieu Rioux, he's awesome. He's the best architect on the face of this planet. We have been working together for, gosh, since 2009. We started working together at a startup called C3, which is an energy management platform. He was vice president of the Apache Foundation, which is, as you know, a very large open source consortium. And he knows more programming languages, I think, than anybody that's out there, and is one of the most amazing developers and architects that I've ever had the privilege of working with.
That's awesome. And besides that, you're fun. We had a great day with you that night when we went out.
Yeah, absolutely. We have to converge on a conference together because we.
Oh, you're going to be at
time.
Apex, aren't you?
What's that?
You're going to be at Apex, aren't you?
Yes, I am. Are you coming?
I am coming.
Cool. Very cool.
So we'll definitely meet there, that's for sure. And we sat together at the Texas Bitcoin conference and talked about women in Bitcoin, and how that went. Oops, sorry. This is when you should, I give the advice of turn your phones off, and I don't do it myself. But my boyfriend's gonna love me, so hey, that's nice. So yeah, we were talking about women in technology, and that was a really lively discussion. And so tell me a little bit more about how you feel, this whole thing with women in Bitcoin and women in technology, because I really enjoyed some of your views on that.
Yeah, so I think that the number of women right now in engineering and finance, and you and I have discussed this at length, it's really what has happened in the past, right? Where there weren't enough girls that were selecting engineering and finance topics, and so now we're seeing the manifestation of it. And I think that's why it's so important for women to get involved in Bitcoin now, because it is the very, very early stages. And I would just really hate to see Bitcoin not be influenced by women participating, because we have a completely different lens. We think about things differently, and we also hold a lot of money, and we spend a lot of money. And so all in all, and that's also part of the reason why I wanted to start BlockCypher, to basically abstract all the complexities, is because I would really, really like to see more women developers come and build things such as classroom fund apps, such as allowance apps for our kids. Can you imagine? You can have mom and dad approve your allowance that you can send to your kid.
Well, that's what I do right now. My son, I went into the bank, and the bank said to me, oh, when your son turns 14, he can have a bank account. And I went,
that's right.
Why? He doesn't need a bank account. I pay him in Bitcoin, and he's never having a bank account.
Yeah. Yeah, because they can't open a bank account until well beyond the time that they should actually be learning about finance. I mean, my kids, we play, I was just playing a game of Scrabble with my daughter, and they earn coins to purchase things. So to them, it's native to them.
Makes perfect sense to them.
And it makes perfect sense for them. And they trade they barter all sorts of things, from rubber band bracelets to
rubber bands. You remember all of those?
Yeah,
oh my God. I have a drawer full of
silly
rubber bands.
It's just nuts, and that's their currency. That's how they transact goods.
And that's their value too.
That's right.
Like whoever is like the big man on block. My son. He's man, so that's what I mean. Like the kingpin is the person who has the most rubber bands.
That's right. That's right. And so the thing is, this is very intuitive for them, and it's only a mother. It's only somebody who understands that world that's going to be able to build the application for that demographic that is really going to cause Bitcoin to take off. And so I would really like to see a lot more female developers come and build things that are applicable to the use cases that we want to have happen. And so I'm hoping that putting out all these APIs makes it much, much easier for that demographic to come and apply their use cases to enabling Bitcoin to go mainstream.
Exactly. And so you're a member of our Women in Bitcoin community.
Yes, I am.
But you're so dang busy. We haven't had you on any of the...
I know. I think I was on the inaugural GNO, and I get your invites all the time. But I'm so busy, Marty. I support you guys full-heartedly, but it's really difficult to jump on.
Just remember,
try to be better.
Developers that you meet, tell them to join the community too, because we've got 150 people in there, and I'd like to literally see, I want newbies in there too. Yeah. I want not just women in Bitcoin. I want any woman who's interested in Bitcoin to be there. I would love more engagement of people, women who don't know anything about Bitcoin, to be able to talk to other women about their experience with Bitcoin. Yeah. That's really kind of what I see there, and women from all sorts of areas. Like, I remember one of the women got really angry at me because I invited a senator into the Women in Bitcoin community. But I'm like, we need to see the views from all sides. You can't just pretend that your little view is the only one in the world, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And the only way you're going to get mass adoption is by having everybody with all these different views and talking and talking and talking, and then we come up to a common view. And that's when you get mainstream adoption. Exactly,
and it's also the way that you dispel myths. So speaking of a senator, I was talking to our local congresswoman because I was meeting with her on a separate subject, and so she asked me what I was up to, and I didn't want to say Bitcoin right out front because it tends to, because what I found is it elicits a reaction almost immediately. And for somebody who doesn't know about it, the first reaction that they get is, oh my gosh, it's where guns, and that's exactly what happened, right? Is this congresswoman said, so this is a thing that powered Silk Road. And so as I explained to her more that, it's guns and drugs are funded by the US dollar. Worldwide, that's what causes that to proliferate.
Diamonds. Like last night, I was watching The Counselor. Great movie, by the way, if you ever get a chance to watch it, The Counselor.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen it.
Oh, it's really good. Brad Pitt's in it, some other guys. And I can't remember. Cameron Diaz, I think that's her name.
Okay.
And, diamonds. Diamonds and gold fund a lot of drugs.
Absolutely, and all sorts of illicit trade activities, human trafficking, that's all done to that. And so when I was explaining to her that you have a higher probability of tracking the flow of money through Bitcoin than with a US dollar, and we had a very, very lucid, illuminating conversation. And so she walked away with it thinking, oh, wow, that I have a different view of Bitcoin now. And it's all those people from the government personnel, our elected congresswomen and senators, all the way down to a mom. It's that whole spectrum that needs to understand what's the power of Bitcoin, but also, what are the fallacies? You have to know both sides of the equation in order to make an intelligent decision on it.
Absolutely, I agree. I couldn't agree more. And so what do you think about Governor Jerry Brown legalizing it here in California? Do you think that kind of gives us a bit of a leg up?
I hope so. I mean, it certainly seems like Bitcoin is taking off. Expedia, I don't know if you saw the announcement, has seen a lot of traction with accepting Bitcoin, and it's these little tiny strings that as they get pulled out, then it becomes much more acceptable to start transacting in a digital currency.
Yeah, it all starts to roll together, and then we get that, that big ball effect. I definitely think,
Right.
from my perspective, anyways, with the amount that I'm seeing, and I think that we've actually, in my opinion, we have actually left the early adopter, and we are right on the cusp of the early mainstream.
I hope so. I
Because
hope
I
so.
see so many people, starting to jump in. It's almost like a feeding frenzy at the moment of
Yeah.
people. Hey, I want to learn more. I want to learn more. People are finally coming to me, you know, rather than me having to go to them, which
Yeah.
is, why I kind of positioned myself early, right? Because
Yeah.
you get in there and you become that knowledge expert, and then people come to you afterwards. But at that first part, you're like going to them, going to them, going to them, going to them, and then
Right. And they're just giving you the hand. No, I agree. I think also, so it's not just on a consumer side. From what I'm seeing is the enterprise side, the enterprise businesses, the very large businesses, they are also starting to sit up straight and not discount Bitcoin anymore. It's something that I think they're coming to the realization that unless they pay attention to it, they might be left behind. And so it's
exactly.
everything from the consumer to the big businesses. Again, it's an entire spectrum that needs to understand and utilize it in some mechanism. And then I think that we'll be able to tell our grandchildren, remember the early days of Bitcoin? They'll say, what? It'll just happen like the internet.
Exactly.
Don't worry about TCP/IP anymore. You just use the internet.
I know. It's like, and that's what I've been explaining to people is that. So here's a fundamental issue with marketing with Bitcoin too. Is they've been trying to explain things that end users really actually don't need to know about, right?
That's right.
And they keep
That's right.
trying to explain how Bitcoin works. It's like nobody explains to me how electricity works. And for the life of me, I have an electric car now. I
Yeah.
leave my house, I go down the street 4 miles, and I have more energy than when I left my house. How that happens, I have no freaking idea. I know it has something to do with me pushing on the brake.
Energy transfer.
And I really don't care. I don't care. I just want to know if it's going to get me to point A to point B, right? And
Right.
the thing is that that's what with entrepreneurs as well. And this is what's really kind of bogged down entrepreneurs when I speak to them, because, primarily my clientele are small businesses, from 0 to about 50. That's my clientele range. And they're like, I don't care how the stuff works. Just, I trust you. I know that you know that it works. I just want you to make it work.
Yeah.
Right?
Give me an easy way to make it work and make my life easier with it. Don't make it more complicated. Absolutely.
That's what you guys are doing right now, right?
That's right. That's right. We're going to take all that complexity and we're just going to have it made so. Make it so.
Make it so, Captain. You can tell we're the same age.
Yeah, exactly.
Turkey fans. Good. Well, I really appreciate you coming on the show today, Catheryne. It was such a pleasure. I am so excited for you guys. I hope that you do wonderfully. And, we'll have a few people watching the show here, and we're going to post it on our website later on and continue to promote it as well as time goes on. So, we get a little bit more traction more and more over time. And I will definitely send any developers that I talk to who are needing this sort of stuff your way.
Thanks, Marty. It's great to see you, and I'll see you in September in SF.
Absolutely. Sounds good. See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.